In April of 2020, the prior administration proposed a formal democratic transition framework to facilitate a peaceful negotiated return to democracy in Venezuela. What's this administration's view of that framework? Have you abandoned that, embraced it, ignored it? Where are you on that?
So we continue to view a priority maintaining international cohesion and pressure on the Maduro regime, working with allies to deny the regime access to diplomatic benefits and economic benefits, to work to support the interim government and the unitary platform as they seek to forge a path toward a free, fair election in 2024. We believe that we should use all of the tools available to achieve that goal, and we will continue to do that.
Well, and is that your interpretation of how you're implementing this transition for framework, or is that off the table? The transition framework itself, is it off the table?
We continue to work with the interim government. I think that the structure of the interim government has changed over time, and the range of recognition of the government and its status over time has also changed. So we need to adapt our policies to continue to move forward so that serious, profound, and irreversible reforms are undertaken to allow for a free, fair, transparent election in 2024.
Well, I keep coming back to the framework, which you haven't answered the question yet. Are there parts of it that you've embraced, parts of it you've abandoned? How is are you following the same path as what this framework laid out, or are you doing things different than what the framework laid out? Compare what you're doing to the framework that was put forth in April of 2020.
So the framework put forward in April of 2020, I think, imagined a scenario where the regime would collapse. We haven't seen that over time. The diplomatic recognition of the regime has grown during that period. More countries now recognize the Maduro regime than they did previously. And we have to adapt our strategy to take those factors into account.
Well, let me try a different line here. In February of this year, 2022, a senior White House official claimed the sanctions imposed on Russia for invading Ukraine were designed to pressure the Maduro regime. I don't understand that, but that was the claim. A week later, that same official met with Maduro in Caracas in an attempt to buy oil from Venezuela. And soon thereafter, the administration started to ease sanctions on the regime. Can you explain to us how the administration plans to pressure Maduro while deepening U.S. reliance on Venezuela?
So Venezuelan hydrocarbons are not entering the United States, to my knowledge. So I don't think our reliance on Venezuela has increased. The visit to Venezuela by special presidential envoy for hostage affairs Carstens, Ambassador Story, and then the senior NSC official Juan Gonzalez resulted in the release of 2 wrongfully detained Americans and a resumption of serious conversations between the regime and the unitary platform. Those conversations have continued for quite some time and have made notable progress. In my conversations with the Norwegian mediators, they believe that the prospects for return to a formal negotiating process are good, and we will continue to use both incentives and sticks in close coordination with the interim government and the unitary platform to encourage progress.
Well, let me take just a little different line here. what are you specifically, what are you doing to help the Guaido administration?
We provide funding and resources to the democratic opposition in Venezuela, as well as funding for the interim government. We work with allies to ensure that the regime does not have access to assets either in the United States or in foreign areas. We consult with them on various negotiating strategies and policies. Our ambassador to Venezuela, Jimmy Story, is in almost daily contact with senior officials in the interim government. I myself have met virtually with President Guaido on multiple occasions, as well as regular contact with the interim government ambassador in Washington and other interim government officials.
I think my time's up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.